Hey everyone. While we wait for folks to roll in, my desk is a mess here, so I think, I tripped over the camera earlier, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of calibration on the MixCast so we can see stuff on the table here. And then maybe we'll look at some weird stuff on my out of my collection before we get rolling. So first, let's go to MixCast and see how bad I kicked the camera. Plus, I think the game board, it's like half hanging off the table now because all my junk is spreading out. So we will go to MixCast, bring this up here, show you all that haven't seen how MixCast works. So MixCast is the tool that if you add this plugin into your Unity project or Unreal project, it allows you to composite what the players are seeing. And it can take in multiple webcams and you can switch between them. But when you start off, you have to calibrate them to the game board. Hopefully we'll get to a point where the calibration is ongoing and automagical. Oh yeah, that's right. It picked up, I'm not actually using this particular camera. That threw me off for a second. I'm using a Logitech camera, but for this camera up here, it's a Microsoft Live Cam. I don't know if it's Windows messing up or MixCast that's misreporting this camera. Hey Christian, good to see you. Thanks for joining in on a live stream. I'm glad you guys seem to like this. Just me flailing around programming, if you can call it that. Okay, so to calibrate, what you do is go to your physical devices, which is your physical capture devices or your webcams and things like that. You hit the Tilt 5 button, and there'll be a window that pops up. There it is. And it finds the edge of the game board. It's not always perfect. You can see here it miscalculated a little bit. We can always just retry. At oblique angles, MixCast misses just a tiny bit. Oh yeah, you saw there it got confused. I think it also picks up it doesn't have the same advantage our glasses have, where it can have a really strong signal coming out of the IR illuminated camera and the IMU and everything that kind of figures out where the world is. So apply that and we should be good to go on MixCast in theory. So today I think what we need to do is there's a bunch of things that I got all excited about in our kind of intro lobby screen. I'm like, oh yeah, in a few minutes I'm going to go ahead and fix it so you can't, have players constantly joining in after you have a game started. And so I need to fix that. And then as I was driving into work this morning, I'm like, yeah, we probably need to have some kind of graceful way to go through the different scenes and remember when we're transitioning scenes, and if we go back to the lobby screen, kind of reset things back to a good state. So I'm going to have to add kind of like a previous screen and current screen so that I can detect when we exit from a gameplay level back to the main screen. We can trigger a reset. Maybe we'll refactor a few things too, because in that, what did I call it? Now I don't even remember. Level setting? No. Scene switcher. What did I call it? GPT. What did it call it? I think we may want to start pulling some of this stuff out of our update loop and put it into functions just to keep it tidy, because I think the scene switcher is going to become kind of a big state machine, and it's going to have a lot of stuff, so we may want to tidy that up a little bit. So we'll do all that stuff first, and then I thought it might be fun. The chat room was complaining about the bullet sounds and the bullets and stuff like that. I don't know if we can fix the bullet sounds today, but what I want to try to do, if possible, is make some more variety in the bullets to where, you can have some kind of, bullets that induce more damage on the zombies, ones that maybe do more of a fan out when you fire them, and it has multiple projectiles. And so we'll explore that a little bit and see if we can do a couple simple things. I think that all ties into some of the stuff that we were talking about the other day, where we may want to have some like loot pickups and weapon pickups and stuff like that as you play the game. So we need some new weapons and stuff like that. Hi, Ron Phelps. Thanks for joining us. Ron says, I love the idea of seeing an engineer kicking some ass. Well, I couldn't say programming I'm going to be kicking a lot of ass, but give me a soldering iron, I'll do pretty good. And then William Steele says, hey, that T1000 behind you is just like the first PC compatible I ever bought. Still have it. First job paid for the whole thing. Yeah, well, I was showing this one off on the stream yesterday, and it's a little bit more than the original. I think it was a 286 or 8088 or whatever is in it, because I've been trying to get one of these working for a while, and I had a bunch of empty shells because all of the circuit boards were bad in the ones that I got off eBay. So I converted this to a Pentium Windows and touchscreen and lithium battery, so it's pretty modern now. Sherlock Ohm says it's Adult Drink Wednesday. I wish I had some adult drinks in here. All right, before we get started, I promised you, I teased you all yesterday that I would occasionally pull stuff out of my weird collection here. So first thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to let you guys guess what it is. We have about a 30-second delay on the stream, so I'm going to show it to you and let you get a good look at it, and we'll see who can figure out what this is. It's not really a tech item, but it sits on the desk behind me. Yeah, look at that. Obviously a skull of some type, right? Do you know what it is? I have a fondness for this because of some of the stuff that I did quite a few years ago. So we'll go back to the chat room for a second because I see there's some stuff. Someone says big eyes. Troy says, I like pulling the power packs out of educational stuff. Went well in a bike kit on a dynamo AC or solar GPS speedometer indicator brake horn like an app for a phone. Oh, sorry. Everything's scrolling by. I can't read that. Oh, someone says a Tassir. I don't know what that is. Someone says a Furby skull. A Mogwai. Part-time says, played a Hasbro prototype nighttime football game. You wear IR projecting glasses and the ball has spiral IR tape on it. Interesting. Ron got it. Furby, yeah. So this is a Furby skull, and the reason I find I'm very fond of this is I've worked in the toy industry, so the Furby is kind of the gold standard of how you make a product that ships a bazillion units and has like legs that last for decades and decades. You know, next to Barbie and G.I. Joe, who, you know, keeps is a timeless classic. But the Furby is pretty cool, and I actually got to meet some of the engineers behind the Furby, and I destroyed a lot of Furbies, and so when I saw this on Etsy, I had to get it. Troy says shrunken heads. Yep. Okay, let's jump into doing some coding. Probably quite a few folks are here now. Bob Darlington, 3 days in a row. Glad to see you. I might have to do these at different times because I was seeing on Twitter, someone's like, oh, I wish I could make it, but I'm in, somewhere else, a different time zone. So maybe if I can manage to get out of bed early, I can do something early, or more likely I'll just stay up super late and do one. All right, so yesterday I identified this piece of code right here was going to be problematic. So this piece of code reads in the till 5 input trigger for each of the players. So player 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the lobby screen, when you pull the trigger, it sets player 1 joined, or 2 or 3 or 4 has joined. And then it goes down here, and if any of the players join, then it starts a timer. This is a kind of a one shot. It starts the timer, and the timer starts, and it starts counting down for 5 seconds. And we had a big debate in the chat room. Chat room thought I started with 15 seconds. They thought I should do 3, so I compromised and went with 5, and feels okay. And then it displays text on the game board. We got that going yesterday, so we put a canvas down on the game board with a text field, and it counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it gives time for anyone else to join. And if they don't, then if they're wearing glasses and they haven't joined, they're just spectators at that point. So they can still watch, and they're just going to have to wait until next time we get back here. But as we were coding this up, I realized there's a big flaw. So when we change scenes, this little trick one of my colleagues told me about is I was calling the scenes by a string, the name of the scene, but you can actually call them by index. So index 0 is, let me bring up Unity. Just kind of try to bring everyone up to speed to what we're doing. So under build settings, I have to drag this up. Under build settings, each one of your scenes, you have to add it to the build settings so it gets built. And to change scenes, it needs to be in the build settings. But they get assigned to a slot, an integer slot, 0. So I've set the intro kind of lobby scene to 0. After that time elapses in that script, we jump to 1. Then we'll add some logic in here. Once you clear all the waves on level 1, you'll go to level 2, 3, 4, or until you die, then you'll go back to 0. So there's a little bit of logic that we have to handle around all of the scene transition. Plus, we don't want the first time you pull a trigger to start a countdown timer and then cause it to index to the next scene. So right here, scene and index. So once we get in here, it's going to, if you pull this on scene 1, if you pull the trigger in 5 seconds, you're going to be going to scene 2. Let's see what the chat has to. William Steele says, built my first till 5 app the other day. Just a floating cube, wooden box that you can move around. Pretty easy platform to code for. I use Unity. That's awesome. That's our goal. So my co-founder Jamie, he's obsessed with making tools. So him and his team are the folks to thank for making it really easy. And it is, if it's easy enough for me to use, then that's saying something. So I think the first piece of logic, I put this reminder in here, is I think we should only be able to call this piece of logic if scene index equals 0. So we can only reach this piece of code if we're in scene index 0. It may, let me think, it's this thing that kicks off the timer too. We probably want to include that as well. Because when we go to the new scene, I'm not quite sure what the behavior will be. if this piece of code will suddenly start the timer again. So I think this should keep us kind of safe. Let me think through the logic here really fast. I think I may want to pull some of this stuff out, put it into a function to kind of clean up this, because it's going to turn into a big mess in here really fast. Why don't we try to run that and see what happens. For those of you that are new to this streaming series, first episode I did was just kind of on a whim, like last Saturday, I guess it was. And it's like, well, I'm going to jump on stream and let's try to find a game to build. And then I had another project that I had to build for a developer, which reminds me I need to get that out to them. I'm bad CEO, bad. And so I built that, and then we flailed around for a bit, and plus I was kind of flailing around trying to figure out how to actually run OBS and stuff. So it was a little rocky start. We looked in the Unity Asset Store, and then I remembered that one of my co-workers liked this really old zombie shooter game that I built it's just a Unity asset flip, but I built it really quick to test some SDK revision that we were working on. So then I'm like, why don't we fix that up? So that's now why we're going down this zombie voxel shooter path. Then I upgraded the SDK because the SDK was like a year plus old, and as soon as I put it in, it all blew up. And so that was the end of the first stream. So the second stream we fixed things up, and then we started multiplayer-fying it, adding all the multiplayer stuff and so on. And so we've been progressing through. Let me get some glasses plugged in here. Get some wands plugged in too, or turned on. Just waiting for blue light connected. All right, all the wands are connected, all the glasses are connected. So when I hit play, you're going to see down in the lower left corner, hopefully, MixCast going. Either I bumped I must have bumped the board a little. I should actually tape it down for this case. Oh, wait a minute. I'm in the wrong scene to do all the testing. So I need to go back to scenes and start in the lobby scene. Intro scene. And I have another pair of glasses sitting here on a microphone stand, so we can do two-player without what I had to do when I was at home and had to start stacking glasses on top of glasses on my head, which people threaten to screen capture. Okay, so it still says new text through here, but if I pull the trigger, nothing happens. Okay. What did I do wrong, chat room? Because I thought that would work. If scene index equals 0, and when the script wakes up, Scene index is 0. What am I not seeing here? Christian says, typical coder moment right there. Did you reset it? Just turn it off and turn it back on again. Let's see what happens. What? Now I'm confused. What? What happened? What happened? Okay, I'm gonna start pulling triggers. Let's see if it. I think by the logic it would kick something up in the console. All right, I think it works now. Let me rinse, repeat, and see. Is there something I'm not? Okay. So here's the game right now for those of you that maybe haven't seen the game. So each player has their own independent view, and there's characters in here, and you just point to the little voxel zombies that you want to shoot. It's actually, it feels pretty good. The kind of feel point to shoot plus joystick to move side to side. So Christian says, exactly like that. You make some elaborate plan in your head, implement them, and either go, 1, it's working, why, or 2, why isn't it working, always. Ron says, feels like the ascent. Yeah, I agree. I feel really uncomfortable when things work and don't work randomly, and I can't, in that code, I don't know why it didn't work the first time. Maybe I didn't hit save? Okay, I'm gonna do, I want to clean this stuff up, so I'm gonna move this all out to a function, I think, just to get it out of here. It's probably not the recommended to do it that way, but I don't know. I don't know the difference. Void, what do I want to call it? I want it to be private. Private void, check. See you, Christian. Good luck here. Hopefully your machine comes back. It went nuclear, he said. Check intro. Check join player. Okay. And I think I can just scoop up all this goop. Here. And I think I might want to make a function for change scene, because I want to be able to detect the previous scene I was in so I can know what to do. So I'm gonna move this over, and then I'm gonna break out change scene. Let's leave a comment for myself. If in scene 0, lobby intro scene, check if any players have joined the game. Part-time says a Second Life app would be cool. I was looking at VR chat the other day, just trying to assess how difficult it would be to put Tilt 5 into it. I mean, I didn't spend a ton of time, but it looked like it was seemed kind of possible. Hi, Nuno. All right, I'm not going to... I feel brave. I feel brave. I'm going to take this whole glop of scene change, make a function out of that so I can do some fun stuff with it. Private void thing changer. So I think of what I want to do for when I change scene is I want to have an integer which is the previous scene, and then I can do things like look at what the previous scene I was coming from and decide what to do. So for instance, if I go from a game level scene back to intro, I can reset some of these variables that I need to set. Like I need to, when I come back in here, I need to set all of these to false, reset the timer to 0, and timer started to false. Almost feels like there might be a race condition here. Maybe I can just reset timer started when I leave scene 0 and set timer. Maybe that's what I'll do. I think I've got a race condition. Okay. Just got to do it. See what happens. Oh wait, so let me look at this logic down here. So if timer is greater than 5, it just bypasses, oh no, if it gets to 5, then it drops in here, resets the timer started. But when I come back to this scene, these flags, player 1, 2, 3, 4, are going to be joined already. So before I've got to do my logic to clear those flags before I checked if joined. Nuno says, loading party. Yeah, it's the exciting part of making a game, isn't it? The loading screen. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I want to get to the bullets because I think that's going to be fun. So scene index, or I need to bring the index increment. I need that over there too. So when this function gets called, move to the next scene. Do I want that? No, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. Because I may, in the future, we may want to go to an interstitial screen. I'll change it later. Yeah, I may not want to go linear through all the scenes, but I think it's easy enough to fix later. Let's keep it simple for now. That's always the hazard in any type of engineering, I've found at least. You know, you try to over-engineer too early. It always bites you. Hey, not another dev, yay. Here to help me stumble through all this stuff. Troy, I think we could add grenades. I was looking at the bullets before we started the stream, and they look pretty simple, and I think we can take the prefab for the bullets, and I think we can just keep, you know, kind of modifying them, making different prefabs, and then we can make some logic for pickups so you can get them and number of grenades and whatnot. But the projectiles, looks like you can probably turn on gravity, so you could probably have something that has, you know, can lob out there and kind of bounce along. There's a cool idea someone came up with in the chat that reminded me of my days working at Valve Software when I played a lot of Left 4 Dead. They had a kind of zombie wave game built into it where you just had to survive as long as you could. And if you made noise, it would start the zombie hordes coming in. But the suggestion was, I thought was pretty cool, because there's lots of klaxons and alarms and stuff going off in the default scene that came with this sample. Maybe, you know, all the police sirens and stuff aren't going off. And if you shoot like a police car, its alarm or something goes off, and then it causes more zombies to come out. The challenge is communicating that to the end users so they know, you know, the cause and effect of causing the alarm to go off and then the swarms coming. Is this gonna work? Yeah, I think it's totally gonna work, just like last time, right? Right? Well, look at that. Okay, I want to put one more piece into this before we move on and start looking at the bullets. Oh wait, before I forget, no, I have to add this piece. So I need an integer. So we've got scene index. I want previous scene index so I can know where I'm coming from. Previous scene index. So down here in my function for change scene, so before I increment it, I'm going to stash away scene index. save away, scene index, so we know where we know which scene we came from. So up here, I want a little piece of logic. So if previous scene index, oh yeah, let me initialize that too. I think we determined yesterday that awake only runs once. Is that right? Not another game dev? So since this is do not destroy on load, this only gets called once. I don't know. So I'll move on. Hopefully not another dev can remind me. So at the beginning of time, I'm going to initialize this to 0. Okay, confirm from not another dev. So at delta time 0, we're going to drop into update some delta time later, and it's going to be sitting at 0. And it won't go in here because that's the beginning of time, and we already know that these 4 are already initialized to false. But if we came from a different scene, anywhere else, back to the home screen, we got, before we do our check if any players joined, we have to make sure these are false. Or we may just get into an endless loop of just not another dev. Are you asking if I'm feeling better? I was hungry yesterday, and I'm hungry again today, but I'll stave it off with a Coke. Can anyone see a problem with this? Is my logic right? Do you think that I will safely rejoin? Actually, let me add a little logic to this where we can test this. So maybe if I temporarily add a Chris asks, how's my diet? Terrible. I'm too old to be eating the way I do. We were talking about food last night, and I got excited about chimichangas. Yeah, Alan remembers chimichangas, and sure enough, I got a big chimichanga and refried beans last night. Maybe tonight I'll have a salad. Now you're making me feel guilty. Okay. I'm going to check if the tilt5.input try get button, and what's the syntax on this? So I'm going to make it so if I push the X button right here, we're going to change scenes. That way I can come back, and I need to do a little bit of work here on scene changer because right now as it's coded, if we hit the end of what Unity understands as scenes, we just kick out an error message. I want it to go back to scene 0. So yeah, Chris thinks the salad's a better choice. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so the syntax is tilt5 dot input dot wait, where is it? Wand button dot, and I was going to do X, and out is, this is the output, it's a bool, button X, and then it's tilt5 controller index right hand, and then it's play tilt5 player index player 1. I'm missing a bracket here. Ah, chat room saying taco salad. Now you're speaking my language. Does it still count if it's a taco salad? And button X. So I'm checking if button X, after it evaluates that, if button X is true, and then we drop in here. Oh, I've got some bracket problems. Okay. Chris says no. Chris, you're such a healthy person. We're going to go to scene changer. So when we push that button, we're going to call scene changer function. Actually, this is kind of good. Maybe I'll leave scene changer in here for a bit. So, because once we start building levels, we're gonna want to skip past them pretty fast. So what's the chat room saying here? A lot of discussion about if it's a is it a salad if it has lettuce? Does it become less of a salad if it has bacon and cheese? I say no. Nuno says it'll be able for player to use 2 weapons. 2 weapons. That's a good question. So right now, available to you is trigger, and you've got the 1 and 2 button here. They're easily available to your finger. And the way that this was set up, you don't have free movement within the scene. You're kind of on between waypoints because I originally wanted this to be fairly simple for first-time gamers. So when you push the wand button, the joystick to the side, left or right, you just move between waypoints. So, and because your aiming is with your point, I could imagine you could be doing some dual wielding where you're pulling the trigger to fire and pushing, 1 at the same time. It's not the best feel in the world. I think 1 button feels better to me than 2. We'd considered putting a bumper on here too, but we went for a little bit of simplicity on our first gen product. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Okimio. Uh, the 1 and 2 button could be used for cycling weapons too. So that's something to consider. How do we cycle? I mean, conceivably, we could push up and down on the joystick too, but you would probably, as you're trying to move from waypoints, you'd probably accidentally move up and down. Ellen says all the taco salad talk, they're asking all the right questions. And I think that's what these streams are about, is to answer all the world's dilemmas while coding. All right, I'm off track here. Okay, I needed to fix the scene changer function. So when we reach the end of the scenes, we're going to, instead of kicking out an error message, we're going to go back. We're going to assign that to 0, which will take us back home. Meanwhile, I saw that there was a scene sitting in here. I don't know, in the build settings. I don't know what the behavior is like, if that's just sitting there. I'm assuming nothing, but I can delete it because it wasn't assigned a number. Hit Control S before something crashes. All my keyboards on all my computers, Control and S, are rubbed clear through, and I haven't had this little tiny laptop for very long. It's already wearing through. All right, one last check. That's saved. Oh, totally gonna work. First try. All right. All right, I'm gonna hit X. Oh, that's player 2. Not first try. Okay. What did I do wrong? Oh, I know what I did wrong. All right. A noob mistake for sure. So, where is it? So I can't get to here. It indexes. It indexes too high for the number of scenes, so it doesn't do this. Then it goes to 0, and then when I press it again, it gets indexed to 1 and goes in there. JM asked if there's a billiard sim. Yes, there is. I just saw it on Twitter the other day. I haven't seen it, but it looked kind of funny. I'm not sure who was doing it, but they had our wand, and those little things that you put your billiard cue in. That's kind of got the little things to hold it. The pictures on Twitter were of people doing it with a little short billiard holder thing. Jason's giving me a hard time to saying first try. The new mistake was not saying first try without sufficient level of uncertainty. Just tempting the demo gods. First try? I need to be careful. Oh, it's called a bridge, is what chat said. I assume it must work pretty well, because the way our wand works, any rotation you get to see the LEDs. So even if it's down in something, you're gonna be able to get that motion. They definitely built it without haptics, unfortunately, because haptics is coming in our revision 1.4. So hopefully they keep developing it, and when we go publicly available with revision 1.4, they can put a little haptics. That'd feel really good. It's just clunk. All right, how am I going to deal with this? So earlier I was like, I don't want to do all this work. I'll fix it later. And I'm paying the price. I should have just fixed it earlier. Oh, there goes my Vox clock. It's 7 p.m. here. So I'm going to pass in what what scene I want to go to. It still doesn't fix it. Ben says it's 3 a.m. there. Where are you based out of? Oh, yes, it does. Here, we'll do this. This goes away from here. I just have to remember. Oh, but now my previous scene and scene index breaks. Ben's in the UK. Christian's 4 a.m. Alan, 2 p.m. in New Zealand. Makes me cry. Yeah, the problem is when I reach the end of my scene list, this gets set back to 0. And then my scene index, my previous scene index. Oh, we have Brazil. We have someone in Livermore. That's out kind of close where I live. I drive right past you every day. All right, focus, focus, focus. Hi, part-time. Yeah, I really want to try this piece of logic here. maybe we'll move on from this and I'll think about it. Richards, okay, I feel for you trying to write code and put up with a live stream chat. Hey, you know, I've put up with a lot worse. You know, trying to do ASIC design in a noisy office. There's this trend in Silicon Valley that started happening in the mid 2000s a lot, where open floor plan, and it was the hip cool thing to do. I hate it so much. You know, I understand how it's like a creative environment for, you know, some people to work, but when you're having to like try to figure out all these edge cases of like a circuit or something or a chip, it can be maddening. Let me go ahead and fix it down here. I might just have to I need to index scene index here. Scene index plus 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 plus. I know that works. Oh, here's how I can do it. Why am I trying to clear scene index? And go back in here. Why don't I just leave the scene? Yeah. So I can remember the previous scene, which is fine. And then I can reset scene index to 0 and go there. For some reason that feels dirty, but so chat room saying open floor plan is for social people. I would end up with assault charges. Yeah. It seems like chat room's not a fan of open floor plans. Yeah. You know, I do like being in an office though, but as soon as we got this office, I just grabbed an office and just started barricading myself in, and I have so much junk here, I think people are afraid to come talk to me, so it's really great. All right, let's walk through this one more time. I'm going to hit the X button, and then I'm going to drop down here, and I haven't indexed the scene, so it's still remembering scene 1. Scene 1 is going to be stored into previous scene index, and I'm going to fail this check right here because there's not going to be no. I do want to do this because I want to be able to advance through the scenes at any point while we're doing this development. All right, let's start again. Sorry you guys have to hear me mumbling outside, so this is kind of what happens in my brain all the time anyway. So hit the X button. I'm on scene 1. Index to scene 2. I drop into this function. I'm going to go in here. It gets stored into the previous scene index. I'm going to fail this test because I'm on scene 2 and there's no scene 2. So then I drop into here. I'm going to set scene index to 0, which is our loading screen, and then we're going to jump right to the loading screen. And then we're going to come up here on the first update, and this is the piece of code I want to test. Some of these are going to be set true, which would get us into an endless loop. But scene index is going to be actually scene 1. So we're going to go in here and set all these faults, and then we drop into our check join player, and it's going to see all faults. Yeah. JM says this makes sense. I got the chat room going with grumblings about people making noise in the office. All right, I promise you this is going to work. Second try. I'm going to say it really timidly so it will work. All right, we're going to count down. And here we go. We're going to push X. It didn't work. No, Alan talked about having to get headphones to survive. WTF? Someone talked about bringing tents to put over their entire desk. So I worked at this one startup that was basically an open floor plan. They did allow us to have these really crummy, kind of short cubicle walls, but still, like, your eyes were kind of, you were constantly being distracted by motions around you, and just the noise came straight across. I mean, it was probably just some excuse for managers to sit there and, kind of hawk over us and make sure that we're working. And so a lot of us were working long, late hours trying to get this chip done. And the team was growing, so they kept building these stupid cubicles all around us. And so one day, I got messing around super late at night. It was probably like midnight. I was the last person there. And I found this wall section, and I found the little tool. It had this like hex key thing where you could clip things together. And I went to one of my buddy's cubes, and I started messing around with all the wall segments and completely closed off his wall segment. And of course I could see from my desk when he would come in the morning, like, ha 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 ha. And ended up, he absolutely loved it. So he came in, he's like, that's interesting. And he grabbed, a chair and just stuck it there, stepped over the wall, and left it like that forever until like management came through and said he had to take it out. He said it was great because people couldn't walk through kind of the opening to his cube and bother him. They had to do just a little bit of extra work. And then when I was at Valve Software, they have this open floor plan cabal kind of scheme where there's these big rooms, very noisy, and every desk is on wheels. And I'm sure it's wonderful for the creative crowd, but really frustrating for me. And plus I was doing hardware design, so my rolling desk was not very rollable because I had all kinds of benches near me, and I had oscilloscopes and wires hanging down and stuff like that. One day I was down on the loading dock after one of the trade shows, and they went to a trade show, and they were showing off Counter-Strike Go, and they'd made this giant gun reticle that had this piece of plastic and a round aperture. It was big enough that if the sheet of acrylic wasn't there, you could step through it. So, and it was going into the dumpster, so I pulled it out and I took all the acrylic out of the reticle piece, and then I dragged it up to the 4th floor, and my desk was kind of shoved off into a corner, and I found a way to wedge it in there to where there was like a portal you had to step through to get to my desk. And I found the same thing. Eventually, I dangled kind of these glowing 60s beads across it too, which made it even more of a barrier for folks to approach me. I think there's a picture online of this. It was pretty funny. Valve. I loved it so much. I swear I saw it online. Like the New York Times or somebody came through and did an article on the Valve hardware team, and they were enamored with my portal door. Huh. Maybe I was daydreaming that it was online. Eventually, we moved it down the hall. A group of us, they had these sliding doors in this one area into this kind of smaller cabal. So we slid the doors up against this framed portal thing, and then we kind of wired it so it was like kind of locked the door in place. And the whole kind of like AR group, you had to walk through a portal to get to it. I'll have to, yeah, looks like maybe it isn't online. Okay, why did this not work? Why am I looping back to scene 1? Did I not hit save? That would be embarrassing. Richard asked if I took Milton's stapler. At Till 5, we have exclusively red staplers here. All right, pull the trigger. Mark says, random thought. Warhammer 40K would be great market for the Tilt 5. They certainly got distribution network. They'd want to sell their kit plus Tilt 5. I totally agree. If you know anyone there, like, put a good word in for us. All right, we're in on the first scene. I'm gonna hit X. I gotta do it on the right. No. Obviously there's something I'm mistaking here. So I push the X button. My scene index should be 1. And then I go to scene changer with 1 in it. I stash off previous. That should be 1. Is there something I misunderstand about the scene count in build setting? If it's less, let me just confirm that there's not a behavior in Unity I don't understand, where I'm actually dropping in here. Yeah, JM asks, is it 0 based or 1 based, the scene index? I think it's 0 based. If we go into scene index, or the build settings. So right here we've got intro scene is sitting at 0, and level 1 is at 1, and I successfully make it to 1. All right, so I killed off that little piece of code right here. And in theory, if it behaves the way I think it does, I should be able to make it to scene 1 and then get stuck there. All right, I'm there. I press X and nothing happens. Okay. So I'm just being silly tonight. There's something I'm doing wrong. So I'm setting scene, and so this is the part. I'm making it here and I'm setting it to 0 and I'm going to 0. Maybe let me get rid of, oh, here it is. This is a new mistake. Try get button is not the same as try get button down. So try get button down is edge. Try get button down. So on the falling edge of that button, I only go in here once. Isn't this, typical? Like some days you can just make a lot of forward progress and then just the silliest thing can like consume all your time. Oh yeah, so chat room's talking about, Hypo saying, especially since Till 5 can handle the really tedious part that nobody does, making interesting and pretty terrain for the minis. There is a demo that I saw, someone who's using our tangible tracking camera, where they were doing hit radius for you and measuring that. So they were detecting the mini, and you could actually touch it and it would say like so many millimeters. Okay, did I get it this time? Hitting X. Yeah, I'm just racing through. I made it. Yeah. Yeah. The button is bouncing and I'm making it through. So I need to qualify this on button up. So maybe if I did button up, it wouldn't bounce. Okay. Chat room's talking about haptics is going to impact wand battery life, which is true. We don't have like the biggest haptics motor in there. Our wand is fairly light. It's kind of funny when we first showed people this, they're like, it feels light and cheap. And it took me right back to the days when I worked at Valve Software. We were engaging with Razer, and they had a product called the Razer Hydra, which was a 6 degree of freedom wand. And they were really heavy. And I opened up one of these wands and looked inside. It had a huge slug of metal in it. And of course, we were very friendly with the team. We were like, why did you put this huge slug of metal in here? It's like, your arms get tired after a while. And they're like, people just weren't satisfied with the weight of it. So, there's actually, if you open up our wand, there's a little spot where we can put a slug of metal if we want to in there. And we opted not to keep it lighter. And anyway, that allows us to have a little bit lighter or smaller haptics motor in there. Yeah, so Alan's saying the Hydra was a neat gadget, almost useless. We put it to good use. At one point they were joking that we were probably the largest buyer of Hydras because we were it has a magnetic, actually it's funny, I have old Valve prototypes sitting here. So this is the circuitry inside the Hydra. And what it does is, probably have one of the coils. It has a little tiny coil, the one that you get. It's kind of tabletop size. It has these coils of wires that are orthogonally wound, and it pulses different magnetic fields on different axes. And then the wands have matching coils, you know, in these different axes, and it measures the intensity of the magnetic field. And we were doing room scale, so we put together these giant magnetic coils so that we could have more distance out of it. It works really well. I mean, back in those days, though, we weren't very far along with sensor fusion. But, you know, I've always thought that it'd be really cool to redo that with optical plus magnetic and IMU. You'd have a pretty robust tracking system. The downside of the magnetic system, like in Valve even, we had to be careful because there were these big metal beams that ran through the facility. And if you got too close to them, it would bend the magnetic field. So, you know, as you're moving close to them, your wand or whatever would go kind of shooting off a little bit. I actually made a data glove with one of those, so each finger had one of those magnetic trackers on it, and we had like a bunch of these, the controller boards for them all synchronized together with one big coil. Yeah, it looks like a Doctor Who prop, they say in the chat, and I agree. I may have to get a little bit fancier with this and kind of register an up and down event so we don't race through the scene. I suspect there's something like the scene's restarting, and there's probably an event when the Tilt 5 manager starts and registering a kind of false trigger. And if that's the case, then that might be something worth having our team investigate, because we don't want, you know, misfiring of button presses when we change scenes. That could be embarrassing if you fire your gun too early. It might explain, actually, when the scene starts, we're getting one shot fired. Oh, Alan's saying thanks for explaining how the Hydra stuff worked. Yeah, it's a really cool system, and the wands have really, really good amplifiers in them, and they actually change gain over distance. So if you get really close to the magnetic coil, it reduces the gain, so you can get right up to the coil. It's impressive. If you get really move slowly, you can kind of see that moment where it just kind of like slightly shifts. That's where if we were further along back then, we could have put visual on there and it wouldn't have been noticeable at all. All right. I've learned my lesson, everyone. My bravado and confidence has cursed me. Alan's talking about Warhammer. Wonder if Tilt 5 could be used for backgrounds and and special effects. Yeah, we've done small experiments where we put physical objects down and had fire shoot out of them and stuff. Like, I went to a big Warhammer convention, and it was really fun watching all the people doing all the physical props. That's better. Huh. Okay. Why is my text not coming back? So text, did I break that? Did I just not notice that the countdown timer is not working? T5 Amiibo collab. Yeah, well, we do use a lot of Amiibos because they have a nice base on them for doing just some testing. We don't do anything with the RFID. All right, something's weird. All right, something in the logic's not doing the countdown timer after we return to the home screen. Oh, Brian, yeah. Yeah, it seems like maybe you jumped in a little bit, little late. I was explaining MixCast. It's a free tool that you can get, and then you just add it to your project. Works with till 5. It lets you do a composite, kind of very accurate to what you would see if you were wearing the glasses. Okay, let me try to fix this one last thing, and then we're going to go look at bullets. I promise, because I already labeled the stream something like Bullet Bonanza. So it's probably something to do with well, that looks like it would work. I wonder if it's losing the connection to the canvas when I come back because, oh, would that be the case? Because it's going to be loading a scene where there's already one of these scene starter game objects. So it's destroying the game object. Am I losing my connection to the canvas at that point? Oh, Brian, yeah, you can do real-time editing with our system. Here, I can show you some stuff. Might as well do it now. I think I know what's happening. This will give me a chance to do some testing. So in the editor, you can just run the glasses. You can run up to 4 glasses in the editor simultaneously. We support Android, Linux, and Windows. So, and we have some internal builds of Mac support. So if you're a Mac developer, that's coming eventually. But on Windows, Linux, you get to edit in real time. So let me start the project, and I'll just show you a few things which are kind of fun. So you can see there's some text down here, and I see the text. Both glasses, there's a pair of glasses sitting on a stand over here next to me. So if I find the canvas in the control panel, here, I've got a hold of the game board right now. And so as I change the settings on the game board, which the canvas is hooked to, I can see in real time, is it the size I want or not. And so this is super handy for getting things right. And you hit on something that's super challenging when you do any development in AR, VR, AR core for phones, like you mentioned, is you just have to work in a black box, deploy it to your system, and then just hope that you got it right. And the only way to know is to actually run the application. All right, let's see if I can debug this last little problem. I'm going to go into the game. Now, Brian, I'll show you, since you came in a little bit late, I'll show you what we're working on right now. So we're building a zombie shooter game. Right now I have two headsets hooked up, and you can see my two wands here. Each character has an independent view, so they each have their own game board in Unity. So when I move the character along, they're seeing something completely different. And the way you aim is you just point to, you know, what you want to shoot. So if I start the game, so there's some zombies coming. So right now I'm playing both players because this headset over here can see. That's the game so far. It's pretty satisfying, as I was saying. Just point to shoot what you want to kill and use the joystick to move your character. All right, now we're going to go back to the home screen by hitting the X button, and I want to see if Scene Changer is missing the Text Mesh Pro. Okay. Well, that's interesting because I destroyed it because I already had one in the scene. How am I going to deal with that? I might have to call on another dev in the chat room to help me out. All right, well, I think that is all I can do on that right now. We'll come back to why this Text Mesh Pro is getting disconnected. I suppose I can send... Yeah, this was what I'll do if someone doesn't come up with yeah, singleton time. Yep. Since I know I'm coming back from a scene, I can just search it by name, I guess. JM, so the text is reversed for you because my camera is on the other side of the table. I'm on this side over here, so it's correct for me. All right, let's go look at the bullets. Let's go do something fun. I'm tired of this boring infrastructure stuff. So I did a little bit of cleanup before we started the stream, and then I looked at things to kind of figure out where I wanted to go today. Am I boring you all? Should I take a quick break and show you a weird item out of my failed commercial products cabinet? Oh, I'm glad that I inspired you. I don't know how to say your name, but hopefully you're having a good time. If you have a Tilt 5 system, Tilt 5's on sale right now for 2 and 3 player packs, so I've got to do the obligatory go get your system. You should get it now before we put it back to regular price. And you too could either be playing this or building stuff too. What I should do after we do the zombie thing, I can't like put the source code to this public because it's got a Unity asset. We should try to build something where I can just put it up on GitHub and we can all play together and build together. Oh, someone wants to see something out of a different cabinet today. Okay, I have multiple different cabinets. Let me grab something out of a different cabinet. So we'll keep the failed consumer products cabinet for another day. What would be fun? I kind of like the trivia stuff. I'm going to grab a couple things. We'll see if the chat room can figure out what they are. Okay, I've got two round things. I want to make sure I show you the right direction or I just give it away immediately. All right, first round thing. All right, what's this? I don't know if you can see this, but it's like a spool of wire. What could this be for? The chat room says, this cabinet thing is a gold mine. First guess in, soldering wire. Nope. It's a good guess though, kind of, knowing me, it's a pretty solid guess. Recording wire for audio? Yes, this is recording wire for audio. So I've been looking for a wire recorder player for some time that doesn't cost $1 million to ship. Someone said speaker guts, piano wire for murders, like how you think. A resistive wire, that was a good guess. Monofilament, that would be a good guess too. Yeah, so, one of the first audio recorders, they just recorded on wire, which is pretty cool. It makes sense. Back in whenever this was invented, probably like the 30s or something like that, modern plastics weren't, as refined as they are today. Plastics were things like, maybe you had cellophane, Bakelite, Catalin, I think is what it was called. Plastics are actually relatively new invention, modern plastics. I don't know what's on actual audio cassette tape, but it's probably like really strong mylar, which made it viable. Okay, let me take a look at this, make sure I'm not giving it away. It's a spool of paper. It's got some holes in it. Ticker tape, someone says. Punch tape. Technically, I think that's right, punch tape, but it's very specific what's recorded on it. What do you think is on it? Alien bracelet. Morse code. You got it. This is Morse code on tape. So you put this in a machine. I'll drag out a machine for you all one of these days, and we will play some Morse code on paper tape. A lot of great guesses here. Space War on tape. All right. Let's look at some bullet action. Okay, so when I looked at this earlier, I found, I suspected, and it's true. So on the player character, there is a bullet prefab. And so the agent script is what is instantiating the bullets. So when we go to the agent script that's attached to the someone said Bitcoin. Well, that would be a pretty secure way to save your Bitcoin. I don't know how long the key is or whatever for Bitcoin, but I have a friend at an event I go to that he's a little distraught because back when Bitcoin was like brand new, someone gifted him a Bitcoin on a memory stick, and he's been tearing his house apart trying to find it. I'm sure there's a lot of stories like that too. Okay. The chat room's going crazy on that. Bitcoin would be a paper currency then. Oh, I don't know. The Bitcoin fanatics might get mad to hear that. Okay, so when we pull the trigger, we hooked this up the other day to the actual trigger on the wand, and it calls this function, this public function from our input script, start firing. It checks to see if the parent is alive, which is the character, is it still alive? Is it hiding? And that's some functionality we haven't added yet, but you can actually make the character squat down. I don't know. I haven't seen any good use of that yet. Then we start firing if C firing is not null. So yeah, it starts a coroutine. C firing. C firing. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Oh, stop coroutine. Stop co. I'm a little confused on what's going on, but it's starting a coroutine down here. Someone's talking about Bill Gates having harsh letters for people who are cavalierly sharing his punch paper tape. That would be pretty awesome if I could find some punch tape of Microsoft Basic from the 70s. That'd be cool. I don't think I have a punch tape that has a program on it. I don't think. That's a piece of media I don't have in my collection, which is kind of surprising. So we start this coroutine. Looks like there's a gun delay. Start firing. Here's where we instantiate the bullet prefab, which we saw in the editor, from the gun tip position and rotation. Oh, I see. Okay. And then they're defining a weight, so it just kind of hangs out here and waits between. So we can play with a bunch of this stuff. So let's just do a really quick test here. Let's make the fire rate kind of slow and just see if it's working the way we think it is. Now, right now I'm in the regular scene, so I don't have to. I can just start firing away. Yep, it's slow now. That's cool. Brian's asking, was the issue the bullets not appearing? No, the bullets appeared. Everything was functioning properly. We're going to explore, and not much of it's going to happen today because I'm going to keel over from not having enough food pretty soon. But the complaints from the chat room is they hated the noise, so we're going to have to make some different weapons with some different noises and maybe some variety on the noise. And you only have one type of bullet, and it'd be really cool to add some like weapon pickups and stuff like that and some variety in the different bullets. So I was hoping today we could get to a point where we could have some like spray shot, you know, like it shoots 3 bullets at the same time and they go flying off. We might be able to get there. We'll see. But this is interesting. So we'll have to think about the architecture here a little bit. So in this firing mechanism, the delay is in this coroutine. We're definitely, depending on the weapon, we're going to want a different gun delay. So I think we're going to have to create some lists of weapons with different parameters that we pass into this depending on which weapon is selected. You know, if it's a machine gun, it's got to go fast. If it's a handgun, it's going to go medium. If it's a laser blaster, it's continuous. All right. All right. I think that's how that works. Let's go take a look at the bullet prefab. And we're going to have to do a lot of work around this. So when we pick up loot, you know, we can increase the number of bullets for different weapons. Plus we'll have to, as suggested by the chat room earlier, we'll have to probably map a couple of the buttons so you can toggle through your different weapons. It's a good question that was brought up. Can we do dual wielding? Actually, it would be kind of fun. The headset itself can, you can dual wield. I think actually each headset has some kind of internal limit to like 8 devices, or maybe it was 16 devices. You could go, you know, accessory crazy on it in the future. Brian's asking, will this coroutine get triggered potentially every frame? I'm not an expert in coroutines, but I think they run independent of the frame rate. So this just kind of runs in the background. Okay, all right. So here's our bullet prefab. And that was, you know, in that field in the editor. Can I duplicate? I should make a new one before we break this one. Is it as simple as Control C, V? No. Oh, Brian was asking if start firing is evaluated in our update loop, and it is. So in update, it's getting evaluated, I believe. Now you have me questioning that. Yes, it is, because we have another script. So this is what we built the other day. No, it's not open. There's a till5 input controller which calls the public function inside each player's game agent, and the till5 input is in the update loop. Yeah, Brian, I don't think we have a bug in. I think the shooting right out of the box is working correctly. So we just want to start enhancing and rotating. Christian, thanks for hanging out. Christian's heading off to work. Did anyone tell me how to copy a prefab? Do I have to drag it back in here? This is what's really weird for me in Unity. I struggle with how prefabs work. Chat room's trolling me. What's for dinner? I think we already agreed earlier that it has to be salad because I was so bad last night. Making the root of the current open prefab into a new prefab of its own will make the open prefab a prefab variant with the new prefab of its base. I don't know what the heck it's saying. Let me try a different approach. I'm going to stick it in here in the editor. This looks a little more taco salad it is. Oh, Mexican food, I could eat it every single day. All right, so I put the original bullet prefab in here, and then I'm pulling it back in to try to make another prefab. I think I want it to be let's call this one hack for now. What do I do? Is it an original prefab or a prefab variant? Would you like to create a new original prefab or variant? Ben's asking if Mexican agrees with me. Maybe not 2 days in a row. TMI? All right, I did it. I just pulled the trigger and said, I always have trouble. I want to get better at how prefabs work. Like I modify things in one and it messes up the other because I choose the wrong option. All right, let's go back to player one character, and I'm going to put the hacked prefab in here so we can play around with it a little bit. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Sphere collider, it's bouncy, which is cool. Mesh render is off. So it looks like originally it had a sphere there. It's got a rigid body, not using gravity. I think this could be kind of cool. We could add some drag and some angular velocity and mass to it, and you could maybe lob grenades. Brian says, it got a little more nuanced after Unity natively implemented prefab nesting. Breaks my brain. So we got a bullet script. We got a trail renderer. Well, that'll be fun. And it has a light attached to it. I never noticed that in the scene, that the light was doing anything. All right, let's get into the script. I had already opened this before, so it should already be there. Let's see what we can screw up in here for the last hurrah tonight, because it is about 8 o'clock and my stomach's growling. What can we edit here? Your favorite sound that everyone, SFX shoot. No. So it looks like we can, yeah, we can change some of the special effects. And then the damage that is imparted on the monster. Be interesting to know how all that works. Accuracy. And speed and lifetime. Okay, looks pretty straightforward stuff. How fast it goes and how long it lasts. Should I show you guys the clock? No, I'll do that another day. I love this clock. I have a story behind it and why I have it. All right, we got to do something with bullets because I promised bullets on this stream. Okay, we already looked at all this stuff. Calculate accuracy. It's a vector 3. Oh, with some randomness. So deviation, I guess, is what's going on up here. There's an accuracy minus offset. All right, I'm getting a little confused. Pew, 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 the chat room says. JM asked if I started this code from scratch. No, this is just a Unity asset flip. I just went looking on Unity a year ago, and there was this kind of cool looking zombie scene, which was already rigged up to do some stuff. It was originally for a touchscreen, so I ripped a bunch of stuff out of it so the touchscreen controls are no longer there, and then hacked in some waypoints and stuff. So the original project was by this company, Siriune. So we could look that up later. I wonder if it's still available. Nuno says have some bullets with area damage. That'd be cool. We could probably change the collider too. I'm super confused what's going on here. Okay, so this isn't being even used. So this random, and then it gets zeroed here. And then there's this offset, which is 100F minus accuracy. Oh, wait. And then there's another random. Up in there. This looks like dead code up here. I think this is all dead code. Yeah, I didn't write any of this, so Alan says, right, so 100 minus accuracy equals 1, which becomes the limit of the offset angle for the deviation. I think you're right. That sounds right to me. So this is going to, so this vector 3 is how much in the right direction and up. So there's going to be a little bit of each time you fire. This could be kind of fun for us to play with, where, you know, as you fire the gun, you can have some like kind of kickback or something It'd be kind of fun, yeah, with your character can get kicked back or pushed back a tiny bit. Maybe it doesn't make sense since we're kind of stuck to waypoints, but what is happening here? Random is random normalized times deviation. Yes, chat room's asking if I'm new to Unity. I'm very new. Um, I'm a hardware designer trying to work in Unity. So this is not where you go to learn good Unity coding skills. I designed the optics and electronics in this cool AR system, which you can buy today and get in a couple days. Yeah, Brian's saying it's just like scaling it, so normalized. It's a little confusing to me. So Firebolt, we're going to get the rigid body on this game object. We're going to add force to it, plus this random transform forward plus some random vector times the speed, force mode velocity change. That seems pretty straightforward. So on the right, Alan, it's on special now. Bye, bye, bye. I got headsets. Slightly dented. Anyway, that was my attempt to be a car salesman. I need to practice it. Next time I'll practice and I'll do my car salesman. They all gotta go. I got a 2023 model here. Slightly dented box. Okay, so it starts a coroutine, lifetime. Set a point light duration at a bullet duration a bullet is fired. Expire light, another coroutine. Play the sound effects. Okay, that makes sense. So it starts as coroutine, and it kind of hangs out here for however many seconds, and then it destroys the game object as it's flying off. Oh, this is weird. So expire light. They must be doing this for muzzle flash or something. Would we even see it? This is the first thing I think I want to hack on. I don't know if I've ever seen any kind of like muzzle flash. Pressed on, if that's how you say your handle. Yeah, this is somebody else's code. So this is a something I bought out of the asset store. It's kind of interesting. It must have been pretty inexpensive. It's not very full-fledged, project, and it seems to be some dead code in there. Because I think this was dead, and I found other dead code. Just Preston. Got it. I want to see what the difference is with not killing the light. Brian says, if you want to do a speed gun effect in a lazy way, I think you could spawn 3 or more of what current bullet prefab and rotate them. Yeah, maybe that's what we could do, is spawn 3 and we give them, horizontal offset. And that could be kind of our... Brian says, but they'll collide with each other, maybe. And yeah, they'd multiply the muzzle flare if it's a bullet. Yeah, that's a good point. I like it, though. I don't know. Maybe it's not a bad thing. Hopefully they're on their own collision layer, so... Well, no, they have the rigid bodies. So we may have to give them a transform too, so they're not spawning on top of each other. All right. We need a win. We need a win. So we're going to try that because we're running out of time here, everybody. Yeah, Alan is ratting me out. I was leaning on ChatGPT, but it got it right. The last couple of streams, it nailed it every time. Oh yeah, Brian. Yeah, physics layers. I've never really played with that. That's in settings, right? Yeah, I think ChatGPT is pretty awesome for me. It's better than a search engine. If anything, it saves me tons of time. Well, I'm seeing a muzzle flash there. All right. Okay, Brian, we're going with your plan. We're going to hack this thing. And I'll leave the muzzle flash going because it'll be extra bright. We are going to try to, on this hacked one, we're going to try to instantiate. I think we're going to have some kind of transform and we're going to rotate it. I wonder if I could just do it really, really... This is kind of lame, but it may work. So I've got bullet 1. And I just apply some... I don't know which way is forward on the bullet. Here, I'm going to try it with no transform on my duplicate bullet here. So I think when this script wakes up, it just does everything. Oh, you found me back in the day when I was doing DIY transistors. That was fun. I was doing some transistors about 4 or 5 months ago in the office. We had a whole group here. They ended up not working because I screwed up the doping, but it was fun going through the steps anyway. Oh! That's kind of cool because of the random variation. It's fanning out. So maybe we can go really primitive and or simple, I should say. Let me compare it to the Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing two projectiles. Oh, Preston, that's cool. You got into microlithography. I've been picking up pieces to advance my lithography work. I have a column out of a, oh, what aligner is it? Now I'm forgetting. Anyway, I've been collecting up a bunch of optics and collimated illuminators for UV and yeah, yeah, Brian, I just increase the deviation, and I'm just gonna duplicate this one more time, and that'll be a great kind of end to the stream tonight. So we're gonna make these a little less accurate, so they kind of fan out randomly. I don't know, just guessing here. But now we have 3 bullets we're instantiating at once, and they're going to go in random directions. Let's take a look at that. And then next time I fire up the stream, we're going to have to start working on the boring infrastructure of figuring out how we're going to manage weapon pickups and all of that, which I'll probably have to rely on ChatGPT to help me out a little bit. And I need to figure out why that thing fires when it starts. Yeah, that's a pretty cool effect. Here, let me go big MixCast. Hope I keep moving my game board on you guys. Can you guys see the fan out of the bullets? Man, that makes quick work of these small zombies. Anyway. Nice. Oh, did I leave a bullet in the scene? Oh, that's a good point. I'm kind of wondering if oh yeah. There's one of the bullets. That's funny. Um, I earlier in the stream where I was kind of racing past my scene change, I'm kind of wondering if there's some undefined behavior on till 5 button down. Actually, let's run a test real quick. This would be nice because I want to report it if there is a bug. What I'm going to do, let me load up the scene switcher. Let's see here. Troy was asking, not when your learning transistors had similar NPN to RF4 gates. One burnt the out gate, 4 out. I don't know, I must have dropped into that question. I don't quite understand. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a public integer called test. Initialize it to 0. And then I want to see if this increments if I use, let's go up here, if till 5 dot input dot try get button down, any old one. You could do tilt 5 button, comma tilt 5. Oh no, it's out. button T5. That's our T5 button is our kind of home button. It's a bool. And right controller, player index 1. Oh, nope. Till 5 player index, player 1. So what I want to see is if this thing starts up with anything but 0 in it. If it does, then I think we have a bug that I need to report. Yeah, they're talking about sharing this. I'm sorry, I can't share this one. There probably wouldn't be much left if I stripped out all of the assets that came from the Unity Asset Store. All right, let me go back to the editor. Save this scene. I'm really happy with that bullet. It's super simple, and we made kind of a mega bullet. I think it'd be kind of fun to come up with some like interesting things you could do with the weapons, flamethrowers and stuff like that. But it might be beyond my pay grade to make super fancy weapons. Let's go back to the lobby scene. Oh, of course it's going to be counting up forever. Chat room, why didn't you tell me I was doing a bonehead mistake? It needs to be ANDed with the output. You let me down. Oh, Alan, I like that idea of a shotgun that had a wider spread depending on how closer your wand is to the enemy. Okay, that says 0. Yeah, Brian, you have failed me. All right, now I'm going to change scenes and see if that test... Here, I'm going to move it up to 1. All right, so my logic's working. If it's anything but 1 after I cycle to a different scene, then I think we've got a bug that I need to report. All right. And I've got to fix that missing Text Mesh Pro. Press the X button. I hate to admit it, but it's my bug. It's not the team. So it stayed 1. All right, let me dump that code and then we will call it a night. I'm going to go have a big salad with does it, you know, if I went to the store and got, you know, chicken with taco seasoning on it and a little bit of cheese, is that still a taco salad and bad for me, or is it, can I count it as protein? All right, just a okay, we're still working. Good. Well, that wasn't quite as productive as I wanted, but we did do technically one bullet thing, so it's not a lie. Brian says it counts. I'm adding chicken with some taco seasoning and some cheese. Counts as protein. Just avoid the salt. Yeah, bacon bits maybe? I don't know. Anyway, thanks everyone for hanging out with me. Don't forget to buy your Tilt 5 system. Do it now. Buy, buy, buy. And hope it doesn't offend you that I'm pushing you towards buying a system, but it really is a lot of fun to play with. I never thought that I would be into coding and programming games, and it's, you know, largely because it's fun to just work in this really cool palette, this space. All right, I'm going to kill the stream, go get some food. Bye, everyone.